Hello. Hi.
There you go.
You hear me?
Gregory. Yeah.
Fantastic. How's it going?
So good.
Yeah.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Just got home.
Yeah. So you're in Edinburgh, right?
Yeah.
But you came from LA, from what I
Yes.
saw. All right. So I'll have a question about that later on.
Sure.
About the weather, nothing to do about growth or content, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Definitely different weather here. Yes.
Exactly. Cool. Just to be sure that we both agree on what will happen the next 45 minutes. So I'm the owner of a French company called You Love Words, and we produce content for brands actually. So we're specialized in content marketing. And I launched my podcast a few weeks ago. It's called Goldfish. So I think you understand why, because just as me, you like everything that deals with attention span and so on. So I was really happy when I got your email and yeah, when I got to know that we were gonna do that together, because I would not say I'm a fan, but I really read all your books, and so I was really happy to have the opportunity to speak with you. So thanks again for that.
Great. Yeah. No, go ahead.
We'll speak about, I know your matter is about growth and scaling, and I'll try to put some content in that. I know that you like it because I read your last book, and you speak a lot about brand positioning and how brands should write content and produce content and how they should nail their niche and so on. So I will ask questions about that. So feel at ease to come back to your book. I'll speak a lot about the book because actually this is how I based my questions.
Okay.
So yeah, growth and content and growth. I think this is something pretty interesting for my the people that listen to my podcast. Actually, just so that you know, they're mainly French today. So it's the first time I do it in English, but it's pretty cool. I'm sure they love it. And they're basically all of big French brands and also international brands based in France. So I'll hope it will help you tap a new audience, and a lot of startups as well listening to the podcast.
Okay, great.
Is it okay for you?
Yeah, and I'm speaking in France at least once, I think maybe twice. So
Okay.
it's SaaStr in June, and maybe at this B2B Rocks thing in September, later the year. But
all right, fantastic, cool. Okay, so usually what I do is a podcast. So if you agree, we'll record the video. I think you need to accept that I want to record it. This is what I did.
Mine says it's already recording.
All right, perfect. So I might ask you to send me the file after on to be sure that, okay, because I see that I'm recording it, but just to be sure that you can send it to me. Sometimes I look at my notes, but I'll try to be as proactive as I can, like looking at you and not only reading my notes for sure. Okay?
Yeah, that works.
Fantastic. So we can start. So hi, Aaron. It's a great pleasure to have you on Goldfish. How's it going?
Yeah. Hey, Gregory. Well, it's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Cool. My pleasure again. So as I said, I'm really glad to have you on Goldfish. We are a French podcast dedicated to content marketing, and we'll talk today about content for sure, because this is our matter, but we'll try to mix it with the growth and scale, because we know you're this scale guru or king. And so it was a very good opportunity for us to have your point on this, and how your content can help a company grow actually. So as you might know, our attention span, gets lower and lower. So before we start, I wanted you to introduce yourself in 8 seconds maximum.
8 seconds?
Yeah.
Let's see, I am author of a best-selling book called Predictable Revenue,
Okay.
Sales Bible of Silicon Valley, and a father and dad of 9 children, going on 10 children.
All right. Well, great. You nailed it. Actually, you did it in 8 seconds. If I'd given you more time, yeah, which is good. Yeah, congrats. If I'd given you more time, I would have said that you are a world-renowned writer specialized in growth. Well, actually, you said that. That 2 of your books, Predictable Revenue and From Impossible to Inevitable, helped You Love Words, my company, enter last year in the ranking of the 20 fastest growing company in France. So thank you for that. That's, as you said, you're father of 9. You said it. I think actually we can call that a dynasty. You'll tell us some more about that. I've seen some videos about it, but I think you did it pretty well. And that right now you're live from Edinburgh, actually answering my questions from your kitchen or your living room. I don't know exactly where you are, but
we just moved to Edinburgh in the United Kingdom from Los Angeles about a month ago. So we're still getting used to the city. Love it.
Yeah.
Getting used to the weather, which is fine. Love the city, but
yeah.
I'm a lot closer to you than I used to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're getting closer and closer. Cool. Are you ready to start the interview?
I'm ready.
Let's go. So I'd like to start with you with a general question linked with your last book. So can you sum up in few minutes the purpose of Impossible to Inevitable through your method and observations? What was impossible actually for brands that became inevitable thanks to what you did?
Sure. Well, last year, updated version of a book came out. So this is the sequel to Predictable Revenue. And the book is called From Impossible to Inevitable. Mm-hmm. And I co-wrote this with a guy named Jason Lemkin, who founded SaaStr. Now, SaaStr is doing a big annual event in Paris now, finally. Mm-hmm. So our goal, and Jason, he founded a company called EchoSign that he sold to Adobe, and he grew that from 0 to more than 100 million in revenue. I worked at Salesforce.com when Salesforce was already about 25 million, and helped add 100 million with sales systems to Salesforce.com and some other companies. So we both talked to many companies and helped them and advised in different ways. And our goal was really to write kind of like the growth Bible for companies, in terms of outlining these same reasons that some companies struggle and what to do about it. Yeah. Because growth isn't, there's so much of growth, which is very personal to that company, but so much that is just a template that you can, I wouldn't say copy and paste, but you can learn from other people what works and what doesn't, and be more insightful about how you grow your company in predictable ways and avoid problems. So writing a growth Bible is really our goal. And the book has actually been ranked the 8th best startup book.
I know.
No.
And I can understand why. Fantastic.
Yeah, although it's not just for startups, it's really what does it take to grow a business?
Yeah, sure.
So,
sure. Cool. Fantastic. Yeah, I get it. That's pretty clear. So you speak a lot in this book about growth, but you really start with everything that has to do with the brand positioning and how you need to be focused on what you do when you're a brand before trying to be like a unicorn or whatsoever. So you write actually that customers don't buy what they need, but they actually buy what they want. So that makes a big difference. So I'd like to have your words on this, because I think it's pretty important for all the people listening to the podcast today to understand your thought about that.
Yeah. So you're right. This is the first part of the book called Nailing a Niche, about really being focused on the right kind of customer and the right kind of problems. Yeah. Because again, like this, the world we're in, and this is only going to get worse, is this world of overwhelm and this world of too much information, so much content, so many options, and people get paralyzed.
Yeah, exactly.
So to counter that overwhelm, this is like sharper focus.
Yeah.
So in this case, you mentioned, we made actually a comparison, which is a lot of consumers buy what they want, not what they need. Right? I'm a person, am I going to spend money on a Porsche or on broccoli? Like a lot of people will, buy the things they want. Like I want the fancy car or the nice clothes. Will I spend money versus on like vegetables? It's a bit of a silly example, but
sure.
And to compare that and to make that contrast actually to business buyers, particularly business buyers tend to buy what they need, not what they want, because there's more steps in the process. And so there's less impulse buying for businesses.
Yeah, sure.
And let's assume we're talking about businesses with at least several people to thousands, because there are many businesses where it's really one person and they still make impulsive decisions. So what that means is for business to business companies, at least selling to businesses, really focusing on not trying to market and sell to all the customers who could use you or should use you, but really stepping back and analyzing for all the companies and customers who purchased from us and have been successful. How are they different from the companies that thought about purchasing us but didn't? Why were we a need to have to some, and versus when were we a nice to have to others?
Yeah, exactly.
And to be able to better focus who you target with your messaging, your spend, your budgeting, and your content marketing even.
This is
or
really
sales.
something, yeah, this is something that caught my attention when I read the book, because this is really something we see with all of our clients today. And you say that, like, to buy your products or to buy our products, you say that customers need to believe that we as a company can deliver what we said we can deliver. And they need to believe it will work for them as well. So I was pretty interested to have your point on this, and maybe you can share us the content that you think works best when we need to show that we can deliver and that they can believe in what we are saying to them.
Yeah, well, let me focus a bit on business to business software or SaaS.
Yeah.
Because most of where I've come from, although these principles really apply to a lot of situations, but in this case, so first, a company has to, anyone can make claims on the internet. Like, everyone says, use our product to increase revenue or cut costs or be happier, right? Whatever you want them to promise. So consumers, actually individuals, and this is true of businesses as well, are sort of getting used to everyone claiming that their products can be successful.
Sure.
So they're starting to be like, okay, more skeptical. So, but first I have to believe what you're saying, which is, okay, you're saying you can double my revenue. Okay, do I believe you or not? Okay, then let's say I do believe that you've done this for other people. Do I believe I could do it myself? Do I believe that I could buy your software, like your sales software or your sales service, and that it's going to work for me that same way? Actually, a better example might be weight loss. So for example, there might be, hey, sorry, we have not only 9 kids, but 4 dogs. and one of them is very loud.
No, don't worry.
Yeah. So actually, probably a better example would be, you see an ad on Facebook or LinkedIn, or some ad that says, lose 20 pounds in a month.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And there's so many versions of this. Okay. Yeah. Well, that wouldn't work for me. It's kind of like BS is I think a lot of people's reactions. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's because I don't really believe it. Mm-hmm. But okay, so then I see a lot of examples of how the system worked for other people. Okay, well, like Bob lost 20 pounds and like Sarah did, or Dimitri. But could I do that? No, none of that's worked for me. So it's the belief, and again, whether this is actually business to business or consumer, again, consumer is a little more emotionally driven, but the principle is, do I trust your claims that you can create results? And then do I trust myself that I can actually follow through and do that myself as well?
So you need to first, you need to show that you've already done with other clients what you're suggesting to do with this one, like with testimonials or things like that. And then you need to make so that your client understands he has the strength or the tools enough to do it for himself too. So yeah, pretty interesting.
Exactly. And
you need to empower your client. You need to empower and to make your client understand that, yeah, he can deal with it. He can do it.
Yeah. And so the best type typically of marketing in this case are case studies.
Yeah.
So again, whether it's actually consumer case studies,
sure.
Like we're not talking about soft drinks, although that's still very emotion based. It's almost the get a star sports person because I want to be like them, but it's kind of like that, but more of an explanatory way, which would be in business to business, right? Here's this company, and they have this problem, and then they decided to sign up with our service or software,
sure.
And then here's the results they got. And adding enough detail, like this is where case studies tend to go wrong, is they often are too vague.
Yeah.
They don't have enough concrete details about the problem or the solution, so they're not quite as believable unless you actually add enough story, enough detail to people. It can be hard to get a good case study because you have to have a customer who's had great results. They have to be willing to publicly share that, and they have to be willing or able to share details.
Sure.
So it can be tricky, but that is usually the best type of content marketing.
Yeah. When you
as a foundation.
Cool. Perfect. Yeah. When you have the good mix of elements as you expose them, it can really be a very good thing to do that. Yeah, for sure. I love the way you were comparing radio stations with brands. Maybe you can have a word on that.
Yeah. So I think a lot of companies and people, and I get this because we've all done this. I've done this, which is, well, I can kind of do lots of things really well. Like the great thing about smart people and companies is they can do many things well. The problem is they can do many things well. And when you're telling people too many things that you can do well, you just end up confusing them. So if it's like a radio station, which is if you're a radio station that says, well, it's 101.5, we do jazz, hip hop, country, rock, and soul, and classical, and opera. Well, what do you want to listen to? We can do it. And it's going to be confusing to people versus if you said, we are the rock station, and you send a much clearer signal that cuts through the noise out there. So same thing as a brand, when you can really find and not that it's easy, but when you can focus on that right kind of customer and that message and really kind of broadcast that clear signal, it makes it a lot easier for the market and people to tune into you.
Exactly. Okay, cool. Thank you about that. I really love it. Another very interesting thing you write is that leads actually they don't think consciously, but they react like with the dinosaur brain we have. And actually you listed some things that make so that our brain reacts or not. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, well, so a lot of my background is in outbound selling, right? So we call that sales prospecting, cold calling, cold emailing. This is the team and system I created at Salesforce.com.
Yeah.
And I've helped a lot of other companies create the system. In fact, recently helped a company in Paris called Data IQ.
Yeah, we know them.
Great company.
Yeah, they raised a lot of money recently. Yeah.
Yeah. So helping create these outbound teams and optimize them. And so just learning a lot about when people don't know you. So it's called a cold prospect. And the principle applies whether you're doing outbound selling or outbound marketing, but someone doesn't know you. The studies show that they only give you about the equivalent kind of mental effort of like a third grade level, which I know the grades vary, but in the States, that would be probably like a 9-year-old, their IQ level to kind of figure out what you're saying. And what happens is our brains react much more quickly. It's not the logical part of our brain, but to some of these elements like concrete details, contrast, or motion. And so this can be, whether it's in visual form, like I remember at some point on Facebook, I feel like a lot of banner ads will get kind of like, you'll see these trends in online ads, right? So suddenly they all have like faces because people, faces are re-registered quickly, right? Or then they all had movement. They kind of like follow each other. So that's in a sense, you can see it, but you can also see it within cold emailing or sending messages through like LinkedIn, which could be concrete details, right? Versus saying, hey, we can help you increase revenue, which is very generic. And everyone's saying it. A concrete detail might be, we can help you increase your online shopping cart conversion rates by 0.3% per month. It's a much more specific. So what you're doing, the goal is to kind of minimize the amount of work that person's brain needs to kind of click into what you're doing and if it's relevant or not.
I get it.
The more translation the brain needs to do, the less likely they'll even engage. Here's another simple example, which would be, rather than saying, so numbers, like amounts, are better than percentages. If I said, well, we helped a company grow by 40% last year. But then your brain is typically like, well, what does that mean? I have to kind of think about that. Versus if you said, we helped the company grow from 2 million in euros per year to 2.8 million. So you kind of done the work for the brain. It's easier for the brain to register, which means they're more likely to absorb it. Because if there's too much, if that prospect's brain, if it takes too much work for them to engage it, they'll just move on.
I see. This is why you say that you help Salesforce from 10 to $100 million revenue more than before working with you. Yeah, you give a figure, and so people don't have to think about analyzing it and understanding the way it works. You just give the figure.
Yeah, it's like, hey, my system helped Salesforce increase their revenue by 100 million in 100 million years, versus saying it grew their growth rate increased by 37%, which, what does that mean? Or almost double their growth rate.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. You also differentiate early adopters versus mainstream buyers and suggest that companies should adapt the message. We don't speak the same way to early adopters versus to mainstream buyers.
Yeah, and this is mostly, like I've seen this really in the startup world, like earlier stage companies, but it can be true for a new product of a established company.
Okay.
But here, it kind of looks like this. I think this is more in the tech world. You launch let's just say you launch a product. Now this could be an almond milk maker off Kickstarter. It could be a software product. It doesn't really matter what it is. Let's just say it's some software application, okay? And you get your first 10 or 40 customers. Usually it's through word of mouth in some way, like your friends of friends, maybe if you have investors or customers who like it, tell their friends. And most of these customers have come through, some form of relationship-based networking, which means that a lot of the value of the reason people are coming to look at it and perhaps even use it or buy it is because like someone they know is using it. And so these are early adopters. Now there's a few people in this group that will just see it. It's like if you are an expert in the human resources space and you see a particular type of new human resources technology, if you're an early adopter, you just you'll get it and you'll be like, oh, I just want to use it. I don't care who else is using it. I just know that's going to work for me. But that's actually pretty rare. Most people, these are what we call the mainstream buyers. As you start to grow and you kind of grow past those early word of mouth referrals and you grow past those early adopters, like these are the people who just get it and find you. And you have to talk to more people who are a little more conservative, like they're a little more risk averse. They may not be naturally interested in what you do. So a lot of people in the human resources space may not really they don't have a passion for human resources. That just happens to be what they do. Most of these will become mainstream buyers where they're going to be a little more conservative. They need a lot more justification though. So they need case studies. Who else like me used this? How do they do it? Give me all the details because I really need to analyze it all to make sure I'm doing something the right thing and not making a wrong decision. So mainstream buyers need a lot more justification and a lot more proof, different than the early adopters who will just kind of instinctually get it. And they don't need a lot of examples nearly as much. The trick is most of the market are these mainstream buyers. So in order to grow, you need a lot more materials and justification and details and things to get the mainstream buyers engaged and give them enough proof, enough material for them to get through a decision-making process.
Sure.
So what you find is that's why if anyone has been in sales and you felt like you had to repeat the same thing over and over to your buyer, that's a mainstream buyer because they don't have a real passion. So you have to repeat it over and over again because they keep having to ask for the same thing. Like, show me more proof, or give more case studies, I need more details, I need this spreadsheet.
They are more difficult to tap, but when you get them, it really shows that you can scale actually from what I got.
Yeah, because that's where you can scale. You can't scale with early adopters because there's just not enough of them. We just said there might be 15% of the market is early adopters, which is probably a lot less than that. But the vast bulk of buyers are going to be that mainstream buyer that really will buy once they see other people like them buying. They're really the followers.
I get it.
It's not bad, but
yeah, this is not bad, but but actually, this is really where we are right now. Actually, as a company, we have had our, early adopters, and we're trying to go into mainstream buyers that really directly come to us, that hear about us. As you say, they ask us a lot of things. We need to give details about what we do, but once you succeed in doing this, you really see that you're accelerating. So
and you basically also need to really come back and be able to show them how are you going to make them money.
Yeah, exactly.
Which could be making extra money, saving money, or some other really very tangible benefit.
Yeah, and when you're not like a genius copywriter and you're trying to maybe to tap these new adopters, actually new buyers, let's say new buyers, what advice would you give? Because sometimes we think of over-promising or like trying to be really super ambitious about what we're doing. What are the 2 or 3 tips you can share with us as a company without having a lot of genius copywriters in it, in the way we write these first content like emails or these outbound materials?
So I think a lot of it starts, especially with outbound, like really focusing on where do you have the strongest proof? Like where have you had the best results? And then, so that's kind of nailing a niche that like who's been, of all the types of customers you've had. In this case, if you are, say, an agency type of business, you might have had all kinds of customers with many kinds of projects. So it might be the type of customer, like financial services customers, but it also might be the kind of project. So what you're looking for is a place where you've been able to, again, you have the strongest case. You've got the best proof of the results you've created. And you can then ideally have a case study of some kind written, and think about like a blog post format, or maybe a short video, just 2 or 3 minutes of a video, or like a like a 500 to 1,000 word type blog post format, as not a PDF and not some long thing. So that would be your main content for an outbound campaign. And then in an email, really an outbound email, called like the classic version, because there's many types you can write.
Yeah, sure.
A cold email. And when we say cold email, like a lot of people send an email, even with GDPR today, and this could be over LinkedIn as well, but a message to someone they don't know, hey, would you be interested in taking an appointment, or do you have a referral? But a cold email or message would basically have 3 parts. One is, we call the bridge, which is kind of why you're writing. So, hey, Gregory, I saw you have a podcast on growth, or sorry, on brands. I listened to it and loved it. Okay, some reason you're writing. The second part is a bit of some kind of value. Now, this would be, you have 1 or 2 short sentences about the case study, okay, or something else you do that would be of interest to that person. And the third step is the call to action, which is, what are you asking them to do? Are you asking them to read the case study? Are you asking them to take an appointment? Are you asking them for a referral? There's many kinds of calls to action, but those are the 3 components of a cold email and cold message.
Fantastic. So be strong on what you know you can do well, and then be super concise and short, to be sure that people read
short and
what
sweet.
you do. And yeah, I didn't know about your 3-step rules. Well, I'm sure I read about it, but I don't remember it. So
yeah, there's other formats, but that's like we call like a classic.
Yeah.
Another classic version is a referral email, which really is more just asking, hey, Gregory, who at your company handles accounting? And maybe that might even be the whole email. That might be like 1 other sentence.
Sure.
So that's an easy, if you think about going back to the effort involved, your messages will get a better response if they're easy to understand and simple to act on. So a referral is a lot easier to answer because you're just giving someone a name than if someone's asking for an appointment. So for me, if you send me a cold email and ask for an appointment, it's a big ask, like, okay, to take an appointment with someone. So I may not respond. But if you ask me for a referral, it's really easy for me to do that. So
exactly.
Just pass it on.
That works well. Yeah, we might speak about that in a few minutes again, because now we'll speak about data and figures, and this is what we call the golden number. So can you share to us or with us one specific figure that shows the power of your own content marketing strategy, you, Aaron Ross? Is there a specific figure that you could share with us and we could analyze in 2 or 3 minutes?
Okay, I'll give you one.
Something you're following and data you're focusing on that helps you be better.
Let's see. So the one idea would be like the number of books we've sold, but I don't think that's what you're asking for.
Yeah, I have an idea in mind, but for example, let's speak about it. When I got your first email, when you contacted me, I was wondering if it was really you behind the screen, for sure, because I mean you're doing for yourself what you're suggesting us to do. So maybe it was your inbound marketing assistant that did it. And so what I wanted to know is that I feel free to answer what you can answer, for sure. But do you follow this conversion rate, for example? What is your conversion rate when you try to engage a conversation with people like me? And this one, for example, that could be this figure, for example, these conversion rates, and analyze how you made it grow, for example.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. I think so. My business, our business called predictablerevenue.com.
Yeah.
It's all, we build outbound sales teams.
Yeah.
We use outbound ourselves to get customers, but we also use outbound to get marketing opportunities like this.
Yeah.
This is what Gregory's mentioned.
Yeah.
We reached out to you, didn't, so I actually haven't analyzed yet. My team might know kind of some metrics on our marketing, outbound marketing. But typically, let's say we have a customer or client that is a software company trying to reach out using cold emailing, cold prospecting to customers.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the main, and no matter where you're doing prospecting, whether it's for marketing opportunities or for customers, there's not like one key metric, because you really need to look, there's called a funnel, right?
Sure.
So outbound funnel, top, middle, bottom. But conversion rates, again, because there's so many, they can be very misleading. So I tend to avoid those to some extent. You do want to watch email or message response rates, and especially positive response rates. So that is a key metric. Again, there's a lot of variety in emailing. Overall response rates can be anywhere from low single digits, so 1%, 2%, 3%, to 5 to 10%. There's a wide range based on really your niche. In LinkedIn, kind of similar. But I would say if anyone's doing outbound, the key metric is the number of sales accepted leads or sales qualified leads that are happening. That's really the primary metric. Which means that an appointment happened and it was kind of qualified as something that would be entering pipeline. That's the main metric.
Okay, are you still with me?
Yeah.
Okay, because so you hear me right now?
Yeah.
All right. So sorry. Yeah, there's been a pause. Okay, great. Okay. I wanted to know, and this is the oh wow moment, which content you prefer in your own strategy, and maybe the content that you like on the market right now. Which one do you think really helps most a company scale? So we've spoken a lot about outbound emails and case studies, but is there something maybe fancy or something you use that you're proud of and that works pretty well for you?
What I think is interesting. So I even for the Impossible book, we interviewed a guy named John Miller, who was instrumental in the whole creation of the inbound marketing and marketing automation movement. What he said was about 10 years ago, when he founded Marketo, which now it was sold for some more than $1 billion to Adobe.
Huge.
Yeah, he could write a blog post and within a day be ranked for certain keywords on Google, first page. And today, he's been trying for 4 years to get onto the front page for keywords for his new business called Engagio, that's account-based marketing. And he cannot get on the first page of Google after years of trying. So in this world of just so much content and so much good content, I do think, the type of content definitely matters, but I tend to be more focused on distribution, which is how do you get, creating content, and then how do you get it out there? Like, how do you get it out to your audience? Sure. It's just posting on your blog isn't enough. So for us, we're very focused on doing partner marketing, right? Like this, or webinars with other companies that have audiences. And ideally with companies where we can build a relationship and do things over time. So like this summer, there's a company called Bluebirds based out of Barcelona. And we've done some things with them. We're going to do more. We're going to do 2 events with them. Where I'll go to, one in London and one in Berlin. And they'll get the event together. I'm a speaker. So partner marketing so far is generally one of my favorite ways to get content out. I still love, at heart, I'm a book person. So a thing I like about books is it's kind of a beginning and an end. With content out there, there's so much good content that it can feel like you just endlessly learn, and you're kind of like, where do you start? Where do you stop? There's always something else. It can feel overwhelming. So with a book, a good book, you've got kind of like, here's the Bible.
Sure.
So I think when I'm creating content for me, and I kind of think about, would this go into a book and how would this fit? So part of it is every person in the company is a bit different strength and style. And if you're great at video, do that. I'm a book person, I do that. And partnering. If you're just a plain blogger or like whatever your way of creation, like triple down on your best way that you like to create, and don't try to overdo it with doing everything under the sun around marketing. Just spread yourself too thin.
Yeah, I get it. The content you like the most and are the one where you take the more pleasure at doing it. I think are the one where you feel you're the best side of you.
Yeah, because it's hard, you know. Yeah, if even if and when you get great at it, things always changing. So you can't relax.
Yeah.
So you have to really want to do it, and it's hard. Like I don't know how long it takes these days. If you start content marketing, you know, does it take 6 months to kind of start to get some traction? Does it take 12? You might actually know better than me. Or in Europe, how long does it take to kind of not just create content, but actually start to get some traction with it?
Yeah.
I'm sure longer than people want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Always twice much time as we think it would. So as you said, 6 to 12 months. Yeah, fantastic. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, things don't go the way we thought it would.
Do they ever?
Yeah, exactly. Well, sometimes they're not too far from what we want them to be, but this is what we call the game over moment. But can you share with us a content you thought would be decisive in your outbound or in your maybe inbound strategy, and that didn't work the way you wanted to? And maybe how did you fix that, or did you postpone it, or did you cancel it? Because the more I speak with entrepreneurs and people working in content, the more I discover that we try a lot of things. A lot of them fail actually, and some of them work. Is there something that comes in your mind of things you've maybe tried with your team, or maybe some outbound techniques that you used one day that didn't work later on?
I mean, we're always trying all kinds of things. You know, I keep thinking about book-wise. You know, even with our new book, The Impossible to Inevitable book. But 10 years ago, Predictable Revenue was published, and it's grown a lot through word of mouth. So I'm not sure if like 150,000 copies have been sold, or it's more than 100,000. I'm not really sure, but word of mouth really just drives it. And with the Impossible to Inevitable book, there's still a lot of word of mouth, but not as much as Predictable Revenue. And I think because, you know, again, everything's so busy. So even good ideas in this book, it's like people love it. Like people say it changed their lives. It still needs so much encouragement to kind of get the word out. Yeah. And for anyone, like myself, it's easy to underestimate like how much focus and investment and momentum you need to put behind an idea or a thing in order to launch it and get some momentum behind it. And I think that's going to continue just because there's going to be more content, more channels, more overwhelm, more busyness as the world goes on. That's not going away.
No, sure.
So you'll just continue more focus, more investment behind the right thing, and more patience too.
So maybe more than a failure, than failures, what you're saying is that even though your books work pretty well, you always have to be behind it. It takes some time to make so that people hear about it and read it and share their thoughts about it. Yeah, it's not something that's that easy actually.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get caught in this hope or dream of a overnight success. We're just going to launch this thing and it'll take off, right? Like Dropbox or Instagram. We're just going to put up a blog. We're just going to put up a viral video. And we all underestimate, and especially entrepreneurs and newer entrepreneurs, underestimate how long it takes to not only get something up, but to keep pushing it and keep investing in it, keep telling people about it, whether it's an application or a book or a video channel. You got to keep encouraging it to grow. And it can take, like in a book launch, there's a lot of people who want to do a big book launch, right? And they see that a big book launch is the key to success. But book launch is really, hopefully you sell a bunch of books from day one, but then what happens is that it goes away. It doesn't lead to any kind of follow-on momentum. So I know even with this book, we consciously chose, we didn't want to deal with a big book launch, which is its own huge kind of like spike in effort. Like we're going to just set in, how do we build ongoing healthy habits around promoting it and talking about it, and kind of ignore the launch really. So that's where we put our energy. It's like, if you want to get healthy, do you do one big marathon and then you're kind of done? Or do you practice on how every morning you can have something healthy for breakfast?
Yeah.
So it's like those little daily healthy habits with marketing and or whatever you're doing to be able to continue to talk about and grow whatever is important to you is more important than some big swing. In the States we call swing at the fence. You're just trying to hit a home run from step one. And it's like lots and lots of little steps, and you don't give up.
It takes a lot of practice and time to do that. Yeah. Oh, I like this image of the all-in-one. Well, we still have like 5 minutes. So I'd like to share with you some questions, maybe more like funny ones, or let's take some time, to share, for example, if you were an emoji, which one would you be? Would you be like a father with 9 kids? Would you be like the rocket that's scaling? If you were like the emoji you share sometimes, maybe on Slack or things like that.
I mean, I default to family pictures because that's really what's most important to me. My marriage, and I think I was in the Impossible book. Well, in both books, I shared some personal stories. Right, in the Predictable Revenue book, I talked about how I had a business that failed, and at the end of the week, I'd go home and I'd basically drink, I don't know, vodka, something, drink to forget the pain and play video games, just to kind of like, because it's so painful. In the Impossible book, I talk about how having lots of kids forced me, I had to make more money.
Yeah.
So the only reason in my income did take off and our business did take off, like our predictablerevenue.com business is more than, it's going to 50 people, past 5 million, it's heading towards $6 or $7 million this year.
Yeah.
So for me, even if there's a rocket ship, it's powered by my family.
Yeah.
So family first. And I do spend most of my time with my family.
And a glass of vodka.
Sometimes, you need it.
You need it,
sometimes,
right?
as a parent entrepreneur, we're all there. Whatever your version might be, video game, wine, vodka. We all need sometimes
we need that kind of mix.
Yeah.
You need some sun. You need some sun actually too. So, do you prefer the weather in LA or in Edinburgh? I think
actually, if I could blend the two, honestly, I really like in LA. Sometimes it was beautiful, sometimes just too hot. And Edinburgh so far, sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes too cold. So you can't have everything all the time.
Yeah.
You can have everything, just not at one time.
Exactly. This city is lovely, actually. Edinburgh is a fantastic.
I love it. Yeah, it's amazing. It's not too big and not too small, and within reach of a lot of great. I mean, I'm going to do a lot of speaking in Europe this year. I'm close and more than ever. So I'll be able to actually go into Lithuania. So speaking of our family, on a couple of days, I'm flying to Lithuania to keynote a sales event. I'm taking my 8-year-old daughter. So I just like, it's fun for us to go. It's going to be a fun trip.
Fantastic.
Unlike some trips where I'm in a client's office all day, like that's not a fun trip, but this one will be a fun trip. And
you need to come to France, right?
Yeah, I will.
You will be our guest.
Sounds like an invitation.
Yeah, it is actually. It is.
Okay. I'll be there tomorrow.
Cool.
You bring the wine.
I do.
I'll bring the book.
All right, cool. Let's do that. Maybe 1 or 2 last questions. What's the next book you're working on, actually, or maybe the next content? I don't know.
Okay, so I am working on a book. I'm still at the baby step stage. I haven't said I'm actually doing it. I have a title right now, which I'm not. All it is a title. It's not like a final title, and it's called "Forcing Functions and Baby Steps." How to accomplish tremendous results one little step at a time.
Yeah.
So for me, like how I've grown my income 11 times and went from 0 to 9 kids and grown a business to millions of dollars.
Lovely. Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm just a regular person. I'm great at some things, I'm not good at other things. But I feel like I've learned a lot in terms of how to be a successful entrepreneur and be a good or a better parent.
It's amazing. I don't know how you do that. Being a good entrepreneur is always something that's so tough, but you seem to do it pretty well. So congrats for that. Maybe
you never see all the challenges right from the outside. Everyone's got their own challenges. I mean, everybody does. So let's be honest about that. No one's got it figured out. In fact, that's one of the sections of the Impossible to Inevitable book I was proud of with Jason, where we have a section really about how the journey, how things take years longer than you want. And entrepreneurs tend to have more things like depression and ADHD and anxiety. It's kind of the human factor of being an entrepreneur, which is very challenging. It's not for everybody.
Sure.
But I think primarily I am a parent and father and an entrepreneur, but that's secondary to that. Now, I have to make I have a big family. I have to make a lot of money to support the family. So I do enjoy my work. But it's both. They're both important to me. And even my wife, work is important to people for a lot of reasons. Sometimes it's money, and sometimes it's kind of creation. Sometimes it's being away from your kids because you need just to be away from them and you need some space.
Exactly.
So for me, it's like, how do you kind of blend both of those worlds, like be a master of entrepreneurship or being entrepreneurial in your life, as well as being a master parent. Well, let's say better parent, because I don't know how many parents really think they're great parents, but just juggling both. So that's really the book. It's not about parenting. It's really about being able to accomplish more than you think you can, using your time better, being better at making more money as an entrepreneur while being a better parent at the same time.
Sure.
So, we'll see.
I had a small surprise for you. As you're speaking a lot about family and so on. Wait a second, and I'm showing you something.
Sure.
So here's the team. So this is the team. This is my family. I don't have 9 kids, but I have like 20 to 30.
Yeah, more.
Yeah, I have more than 9 kids actually. So they don't listen to you. I do, but we love you a lot. And thanks again for all your help. And come soon in Paris, right?
Yeah, I'm down.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. And
all right.
Thank you, guys.
That's hilarious. Never had that happen before.
Yeah, well, I said we need to do something like contentful for you,
Yeah.
Well, if you're okay, this is going to be the last word. Sure. That was great listening to all your stories. And wait a second. Oh, they make a lot of noise. I don't know about your kids, but mine do.
It's our dogs and kids, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So again, thanks a lot. I think we learned a lot of things. I'll put a lot of links in the podcast to be sure that people get all your points and maybe the literature and the books we spoke about.
Yeah, I think the books are all on Amazon. Amazon, whichever country you're in, whether it's in France, England, so on. All I do is we got forcing function. Just pick a date and we'll do a predictable revenue meetup sometime in Paris.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that. Thank you, Aaron. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And
we really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Be sure we register we finished it because as you have the end on the registering. Maybe if I do that, quitter. Voulez-vous quitter? Yeah, I'm gonna quit the